Well, hello there and welcome back to Travels with Geordie. This week we're going to carry on with building the aft cabin hanging locker. I don't know how far I will get. There's some pretty complex curves and stuff, but I'm hoping we'll get to the point where you can start to sort of see something. So let's get on with it. Okay folks, we're picking it up tomorrow. The camera battery died and it was getting a bit late to be making that much noise here in the marina. So I've cut the first panel off the big sheet that you saw me get started with, and now I just have to rip the little end off it. So there's our panel. Let's do a dry fit and see how that works out. Okay, well, normally I would say that my little bench here is way too small, but it is exactly the right size pretty much for this project. Let's get this going. There we go. Very nice. I like to do a dry fit for anything that's a glue up because I hate to run into a situation where I'm gluing and it all goes to pieces. I have to make the little splines. So let's get on with that. So, table saw back in action. I'm going to rip these out. I'm hoping the saw will go high enough. Yes, it will. Out of this little block. Set the depth for 1/4 inch. That's what I like. Nice. Nice, 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 nice. Okay. Just because I'm doing this right now, I'm going to make another cut off the other side. Make a little more stock. So now I have some nice tenon stock. These will just get cross-cut to the length, basically twice the data. Okay, let's see if this comes close. There we go. Very nice. Okay. There it is, a perfect spline. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. All right, so I have a wonderful handful of splines now. Let's start to put something together. All right then, well this is going to be a bit of a mess of a glue up. I don't have clamps long enough. I don't have a piece of plywood long enough, so I'm having to use this lovely piece of mahogany. And I've clamped a block at one end, and I'll clamp the other end once it's glued up. Let's get started. So I'm going to glue up all the various pieces in advance of putting the splines in. I'll tap them in after with lots of glue. And that side. Now, some people are going to say you shouldn't be gluing your panels in. Well, it's relatively accepted that you don't glue panels in when making panel cabinetry. But I believe that is for solid wood paneling. And I have always felt it just fine to glue plywood panels because they're very stable, and I don't think it's a problem at all. And of course it makes the cabinetry exceedingly strong. Okay. Now the fun part. So I'm going to put this one in here first. Some lovely sun there, very nice. Okay. One. There we go. And now that end on. This end on. I'm going to temporarily clamp this with my Craig clamp and glue up and drive in the splines. There's no sense having it too far down because it's all going to wipe off as I put it in. Okay, you can see I've washed out the squeeze out and it's perfectly square, and I'm going to have to say this was one of my least happy glue ups. You can see that the splines are only in about 3/8 of an inch, which is actually going to be okay because that's where it really needs to be strong. Technically there's already a spline at the inside, and these panels aren't particularly crucial, but I have to say I didn't dry fit these properly. I should have put the splines in the ends of the rails first and done a full dry fit, but I was rushing. So anyway, it's going to be okay, but lesson learned about the remaining panels coming up. Let's wait for this to dry. There we go. Well, I'm not terribly proud of that, but the end result will be just fine. Get that sanded off. This turned out to be a perfectly fine panel, and I'll have to improve things on the subsequent panels. Yeah. All right, then let's start with some geometry. For those of you who've been following along from last week, you'll know that the hanging locker is going to have a curved headpiece, which is a bit complicated because it's sitting against this curved cabin top, which is sort of in a different direction, curved in 2 axes. So I just have to draw that curve today on a piece of wood outside. And for those of you who've watched before, you know how I do that with a long tape measure, etc. I just have to decide how much of a curve it's going to be, and it has to sort of be in keeping with some of the other curves on the boat. For instance, this cabinet and some other cabinetry that's going on elsewhere. So let's do some math, measure, some of that. Basically, I need to know how high the spring line is going to be for the curve at this side. It's going to tuck underneath this piece of trim, so it's going to be pretty close to 67 inches there. And it will return back down to 67 inches at this side. Which is fine because the cabin also drops coming down this way. So that'll be fine. What I need to know is how high it will be in the middle. 69. So you know what? 2 inches. What do they say? Measure twice, cut once. 1.5 inches. Yeah, 1.5 inches. All right, so this is our piece for the curved head. I'm going to take an arc, draw an arc out of this. With 1.5 inches of camber in it. In other words, it'll be 1.5 inches higher at the midpoint than it is on the sides. And I think the headpiece will be about 2.5 inches tall. Then there's going to be that bead, if you remember the drawing, which is just a piece of 3/8 on its edge. And then out of the same piece of wood, cutting from the same arc, I'm going to cut a 2-inch piece, which will be the heads of all the various panels that go on here. I haven't calculated it yet, but the radius for this is going to be significantly long. Now, not being bad at math, I could probably figure out how to do that, the chord of a circle and the break, but I'm just going to plug it into AutoCAD and it'll tell me in 2 seconds. Okay, so I chickened out. I'm going to make a template of it first. I went next door to my buddy Brian, who had this nice little piece of, actually this is marine ply. He was quite generous to give it to me. So I'm going to make a template, a test version of it first, just in case it really looks like, yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to do is make a mark at exactly halfway, 2 feet in this case, and then put a square line on this, which is how I'll line it up with the big tape measure outside. Now, of course, this isn't very deep, so it's hard to get that really accurate, but we'll fiddle with it. Okay, so the magic number for a 1.5 inch offset over 4 feet is 16 feet. In other words, that's what the radius is. So I'm going to take this 16 feet that way. Right then, now all I have to do is swing this through an arc and draw a line on here. Now, it doesn't have to be parallel to the dock, it just needs to be parallel or perpendicular to this line I've put on here to begin with. I can check that by, at the sides, it should be 1.5 inches down. So it's 1.5 inches longer, which it is, and 1.5 inches longer. Brilliant. So all I do here is draw this arc. There we go. Keeping the tension on it. All right. Okay, so before I cut out the curve, I'm actually going to square up the bottom edge of it, because by the time that's in a curve, I don't want this old curve to kind of throw off the way I'm thinking about it. So I'm just going to rip it down square. Not particularly exciting stuff. Now, there are a couple of ways I could cut this curve. The go-to would be a jigsaw. Absolutely the worst way you could possibly do it. Tiny little blade, you're going to get all wiggly on there. My next go-to would be my circular saw with the blade not set too low, because you can easily cut that arc. But this is such a graceful arc. I can cut it with the table saw literally and absolutely accurately on that line, which is the way I'm going to do it. I'll lower this down. Let's get underway here. Yeah. I like it. I like it. Okay, time to cut the real ones. Well, hello folks, and it's another day. I should probably say that I am suffering from a wicked head cold. I never get sick. It's probably 10-15 years since I've had a head cold. I've actually spent a couple of days this week in bed. It's that bad. Cut this out yesterday in the sunshine because today it was supposed to be actually snowing, although it doesn't really look that bad out. It was pouring rain a little while ago. Anyway, we're going to get back up to speed with this. We got a lot to do. Let's get down to it. I gotta tell you, today, this is my friend. I should have been using one all along. In fact, this cold may be the result of all the dust I breathed in last week. Who knows? Let's get to it. We gotta finish up the actual base part of this, right?
You know, when I ran a big construction crew back in Nova Scotia, I always used to appreciate my main foreman for a long time was a guy named Paul. And on every break, when all the other guys were texting their girlfriends and smoking their cigarettes, Paul would run around and sharpen everyone's pencil. I like that.
Okay, so here we go. So the front piece of the base is basically done with the exception of the little vanity piece I'm going to put in here, which is basically just an extra panel to change the dynamics of the way this works. Basically one of these. So we just got to center it. And of course, there. Very nice. Okay, just enough to tidy that up a bit. Now we're going to glue this in, but I'm also going to tack it with a few pins, and of course these pins will go right through because we're talking about 3/16 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch. However, they're just going to go through to the inside of the cabinet. I will, as soon as the glue dries, I'll just pull them through the other side with a pair of vice grips, and they'll be gone forever. They're basically just there to clamp it while the glue dries. Okay, throwing the square in just, it's perfect. Beauty. And that'll stay like that until it's hardened up. Okay, so let's carry on with our curved top piece. Okay, so there's the top of the first arc. Now, I think I mentioned that the top piece is going to be 2.5 inches deep. So I made little marks where the base of my template were. I throw a lot of stuff on the ground, don't I? Anyway, I made little marks where the base of my template was, so I just move those down 2.5 inches, and I draw another line. This guarantees that the arcs are parallel. Now, I need more curved pieces, and that's the top of each section of panel. Now, some of you were wondering not yesterday, but a few minutes ago, I cut the template out with the table saw. Well, the template is really thin, and it's sort of easy to see as I go through there. With these, I want the smallest blade possible to make that curve. Let's cut this. Excellent. Because this is a fairly long, prolonged grip, we'll use the respirator. Unfortunately, with a beard, the respirator is moderately effective, but it's better than nothing.
I've heard it, right? You're gonna get one of those full face ones. Ooh, nice. I know you've heard me say this before, but it's so frustrating with a respirator. I'm so used to blowing away dust. One nice thing about this little gun, it's got a little blowgun in it. Hey, come on. Oh yeah! Actually, both sides of this are incredibly smooth. Very nice. Okay. Oh yeah? Yeah? Come on. Love it. Woo! Love it. Okay. Okay, next job, which is really no fun, just has to be done, is to rip out all the rail and style pieces. So just a whack of ripping. Okay, now because the very first rip is off a rough edge, I have to remember to take an extra 1/8 so that I can flip it and then cut that extra rough edge off. All right, and this is also definitely respirator stuff. Gotta get a nicer one of these. This thing's a beast. Okay, I have a bit of a problem. I've just ripped one section off this plank. And if you look down the end of it, you see it has a pretty wicked twist in it. Not twist, but bow. I really didn't expect that from this piece of wood because it looks nice and straight grain. In fact, it's pretty much quarter-sawn. But there was a bunch of internal stresses, and this piece of wood is of no use. And then the next one is doing the same thing. Very unusual for this kind of wood. I'm running out of wood. Okay, what I've done with the remaining pieces is I've cut them extra wide. So now, if I had a long fence, I could put the concave side against the fence and it would ride on the two ends, in other words, the furthest over parts, and the cut would be relatively square on the opposite side. Take off another 1/8 of an inch, make another cut, make a heck of a lot of sawdust, but you can sort of straighten it. Now, it's never ideal because when wood has internal stresses, humidity and changes of temperature are going to continue to, cause that some creep. Although, I think in this case, I'm probably relatively safe. I'm anxious, of course, because it's going into a piece of relatively nice cabinetry, so I'd hate to have the doors all go wanky on me, but I don't have much of an option now. I might as well do what I can. Okay, so I don't have a long fence, so what I can do, I can take a known straight edge, like a level, and extend the fence somewhat so that I have at least closer to a straight edge. So now what I'll do, I'll just slide my piece along with it attached to the level. I don't know if you can see a gap there between the level and the piece of wood. So what that's doing is it's sitting against the level only at the points at the end. As a result, it's being held fairly straight. When I run it through the saw, I'll keep it against the level, so the cut on this side of the board will be pretty good. I'll flip it over, close the blade up a bit, take that off, and I'll end up with a pretty straight piece of wood for now. Gosh knows if it'll be straight in 2 years. Part of the room is still full of dust, but if you watched carefully, I don't know if you got to see that it only took an actual piece of wood off in the middle. The edges, it was just planing the edge of the wood. So in fact, it has removed the crown from this side of the piece of wood. And so this side of it is, dang, that's pretty darn straight. So now I can put it back in the fence in the other direction and it'll take off the highs on the ends of the concave part. Yeah, I think you get what I'm doing. Okay, got the windows open, getting a little of this dust out here. I can't, some people have said, why don't I work with the windows open and a fan in here? I'll tell you why. I live in a marina with neighbors, and it's not so much the dust, because a little bit of dust is okay, it's the noise. That guy might be sleeping for all I know. So with the window shut, at least it's tolerable. Okay, so I barely had enough wood to cut all the pieces for the rail and stile, at least the straight sections. Now, here, this gets a little bit complicated. This piece I've already cut, of course, and this will be cut into the various sections of the 4 head pieces for the top rail for the panels. Now, I have to cut these on the vertical. The middle one would be fine, except it's not even there. I cut it right here. So these all have to be cut vertical. In other words, parallel to that edge. Vertical with the world. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it back on the piece of wood I cut it from. And now, the bottom edge of this is perpendicular to the cuts I have to put in up here. So that works out great. Neat. I can certainly mark them. The trick is cutting them. I don't necessarily want to destroy this piece of wood just to cut all of these. But if I cut these along with the top pieces, I've already cut my bottom pieces. Yes, they'll have a little funny curve on the top of it, but now all I do is rip them back to 2 inches to the right length, the right width, and everything's set. Plus, it saves me 1 section of wood, which is what I'm missing. So this turned out to be a big win. How often does that happen? You know what I need? I need glasses. I need my glasses. So the total cabinet width is 49 inches. That means each panel is 12 1/4 inches, 2 inches, 8 1/4, 9, 10, 11, 12, 20 1/4, 10 1/2 and 4. Gotta keep going here. Okay. It's right there. And there's the 2 inches. Doom doom. Excellent. So pleased. I'm sure I'm not making you watch all this. If I am, so sorry. I'm gonna clamp it on. Oh! this is a wonderful opportunity for me to tell you something wonderful. Hang on. Every once in a while, you do have to cut some excess glue off the face of these clamps, but it's pretty straightforward. Oh yeah, satisfying even. It's like picking a scab. Okay, there we go. Now, so wouldn't this be the perfect tool to just clamp these together right here like that? Oh, but the problem is I only have one. Aha! Thanks so much to John Olson, who just sent me one off the Amazon wish list. Very grateful to you, John. Having two of these changes absolutely everything. So cool. Oh, yeah! I love when it actually just is so much fun. Okay, so there's my first cut. Now, because my 8 may not be exactly the same, as long as I keep the matched pairs together, A, B, B, C, C, D, D, I can't go wrong, right? Okay. Dang nabbit. This having to move the guard with my nose thing is getting old. All right, first cut. Woohoo! Oh yeah. Okay, so there's A, B, B, C, C, and and D. Woohoo! So now all I have to do is rip these. I'm just gonna put an X on the section that's to be removed, the bottom part of it down to 2 inches, and I have matching pairs for the top and bottom rails. Yeah. Oh. And back to our friend, the router table. Okay, there's no sense stalling with these. Gotta get to it. Okay then, well, you missed me doing the routing out of the top and bottom pieces. Not all that interesting. Battery died on the camera. I don't think it's a big problem. Okay, can you see what I'm up to here? Yeah. 4 panels with curved heads that have to line up. So I can't just be making these panels and hoping they're going to line up later. They got to line up. So what I figured I'd do, I've clamped the whole thing to a piece of plywood. Unfortunately, it's not long enough to put the bottoms in the right place, but I put them in here as spacers. And I square it all up. And I put all the top edges flush with the top edge of the plywood. And I took the extra piece, which is going to be the head piece. It's going to go up here, you may remember. And I measured equidistant down on both sides. And I drew an arc on all the vertical pieces. Now I don't know if you can see those based on the reflection of the light, and anyway, they're there. I'm kind of hoping you can see these. Anyway, and then I took the top pieces and lined them up with the arc. So technically, the top at least of these 4 panels is lined up perfectly now. And better yet, I can take this all apart and independently glue up, let's say, this panel, as long as I line up that arc with the pencil arc on here. This is a big glue up. I still got to cut the plywood panels for inside. That might be it for today. Yeah, because I should do some thinking and not rush this. But I'd say it's going well. Besides, I need some lemon tea. You're coming with me for lemon tea. Good lemon tea. But before tea, a quick shower. I just love the shower on MV Geordie. It's just brilliant. Oh gosh. Oh man, Scott, I love this thing. I don't know if I've told you enough. Just so thrilled with that. And yes, I still have screws for knobs, but we'll do something about that shortly. Okay, we're gonna take advantage of the very kind owner of MV Zephyrs down the dock and go down there for tea because my galley just isn't really up for it right now. Yeah, let's go. Okay, here we go. This is going to be, I don't know why I call it tea. It's basically just hot lemon, ginger, and honey. Lots of organic honey. So let's get some water in the pot. There we go, and put that on just a slow heat to get started. And let's get this lemon underway here. So what I do, I'll take half of it and I'll slice that up into thin slices that I'll end up putting right in with the tea. So they'll all just go in here. Yum. And the other half I'll juice. So I'm also going to take some of the zest off the rind and just zest that in with a zester here. Just because I just like lemon. Love lemon. Okay, then we're going to put a bunch of ginger, and I'll make a stab at peeling this. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but just so there's not too much. Break off those sections and peeling around there, peeling up here. Gosh, I love ginger. It is probably my single favorite flavor. And we'll make lots of little thin slices with this. Someone who's really good at this would do this chop, 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 but this is a very sharp knife and I'd really rather not remove a finger. I haven't done it with a table saw yet. I'm definitely not going to do it with a knife. Of course, if anyone else has a fantastic recipe for like a hot medicinal lemon drink, tea, whatever you want to call this, I'd love to hear about it. Okay, so that's going nice there. Yeah, pretty good. And now just a massive dollop of honey. Maybe not quite that massive. How about that massive? There you go. And I just leave the spoon in there because it's going to take forever for the heat to take that off the spoon. All right, so just a little stirrage and we're all set. Now, because I want to get the max flavor out of the ginger, I actually let this go quite a while. So basically, I'll bring it just to a simmer and then let it sit there for, as long as I can stand. What's that, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour? All right. Let's let that sit for a bit. Okay, this next bit's going to be a bit controversial, I'm sure, but I like to mash the lemon rings, the lemon slices, once they get warm a bit and they get softer. I actually really like to have the pulp loose in the drink. Oh, it's so good. Okay, well, I'm going to call this done. Absolutely, because I can't wait any longer. Let's ladle a little of that out of there. Oh, yeah. Let's go enjoy. And welcome to the beer of the week. And if you haven't already figured it out, no beer this week. My head just does not feel like beer right now. So, yes, lovely hot lemon ginger. Hitting the spot, absolutely. And if you can get this in your town, run out and get some because this is a winner. All right, so more thanks for the fantastic generosity I'm getting through the Amazon wish list down in the description. From Tony Holt, the last of the LED lights I'll need for the Folksel. So that's going to help with the electrical project. Brad Armstrong sent along a whole box of the little LEDs from Blue Sea that'll be required for the electrical panel. That is really generous because they're not cheap. And an unknown gift, which is very significant, a pair of battery switches. And these are really, really generous because I was dreading having to get those myself. So thank you. Whoever you are, let me know who you are and I can thank you properly. So that's a pretty good segue into this week's word of the week. If you'd like to win a Travels with Geordie t-shirt, use the word electrical in a comment down below and I'll pick at random for the first 24 hours worth of comments. And if your name comes up, you will win a Travels with Geordie t-shirt. Cheers. See y'all next week. Nothing like a cup of hot ginger by the fire.